So this session I'm going to talk a bit more about business models in a little bit more detail, and I'm going to try and show you some case studies. Some are from our company and the things that we learned. Some are from other companies that work in different ways, and I'll also try and throw in some examples from musicians or creative types or technology types or whatever else, just to try and give you a flavour of what is out there right now. Okay? So this is where we're at. How do I make money from my idea? And right now, like what we said earlier on in the first session, the way that funding has been done to now, or the way our industries have operated, things are changing. So some years ago, generally speaking, you had somebody produce something, somebody in the middle did something to that, and then the person in the middle sold it to the end user. So in our case, growing up on a farm, my dad had the cows and we helped him and he milked them every day, and then the creamery came and took the milk, and then it was turned into baby food and butter and God knows whatever else. And the thing is, what I understood very young, as a young child, was that the amount of money that my father got for that litre of milk was absolutely tiny in comparison to what my mum or my neighbours had to pay for that milk once it was put in a carton on the shelf. And that's the same lesson that we all have in business. How do you get to your customer faster? And right now, because of technology and the internet, that transition between the person who makes something and the person who uses it is much faster. The connection is quicker. And I don't need to go through as many middle people now as maybe I used to before. I can create that connection between me, who makes a product, and the end user much faster. And the internet has given me the opportunity to do that, and often very cheaply. So the question is, what we spoke about before dinner was, how do we have those conversations with people, and how do we bring those people in, and how do we get those people to give us money? And the second thing we're going to talk about today when we form a business model is how to build your community. So community and money and your product goes hand in hand, the three things. So 10 years ago, we built a company called Spoiled Child. And in our kitchen table, we were trying to figure out what we could do. And it was quite easy. We figured out that we would build websites for people, and people would come to us and we would build a nice website and it would help their business. And that was all good. And one day, we got a call from some people who were doing work with the National Galleries of Scotland. And that was really nice. And what they wanted to do was put every single piece of artwork that they had in the National Galleries of Scotland and all their galleries all across Scotland in one place, in the new wing that they made on Princess Street, called the Playfair Wing. And we made that. So this is an interactive kiosk with every piece of art that the galleries have. And you can go in there and you can find what you want, and you can have a really nice time. And this was needed for children, curators, artists. So all that target market I was speaking about earlier on, this solution had to work for everyone. So that was a huge learning curve. And it went well, and I'm glad to say it's still there many years on. They haven't changed it, so that's a good thing. But this happened next. We got nominated for a BAFTA, an interactive BAFTA, and we were completely shell-shocked. We just couldn't believe it, and it was an amazing honour, and it very much felt like Cinderella should go to the ball, and they gave out miniature ones of these for dessert. It was crazy, and we thought we were set, but the thing was, we didn't have any structure to help us capitalise on this massive honour. So we went back home, we made more websites. So many years later, we figured out that we had a huge amount of knowledge that we had learned over the years. First of all, in building a business. Second of all, in the creative processes that we were building. And thirdly, we had learned a crazy amount about how to build community. So at a certain point we decided that instead of our core value was building websites, our core value was actually building products that solve problems for our customers. So we built this email marketing platform that I'm talking about before, called Toddle. We published this book on how to create links, web links that I talked about earlier on that Google likes. And then Alan produced this book recently. He published it a few months ago. And the thing that we learned really, really hard was the fact that these things make absolute sense. All this knowledge is sitting in our head. What can we do with it? And like what we were speaking about just before, at the end of the last session, these products that we sell bring customers in to the other services that we provide. And we built a huge community with this email marketing business that we then push on to this book, and the next book will be out soon. And can you see how the cycle continues? And I promise you that this is a much more sustainable way to live than waiting for somebody to pick up the phone and say, "Hey Mary, can you build me a website that will solve me a problem," and then go away. So we figured out a whole lot, and this is one of the earliest logos for this business, so you can kind of see the connection. Spoiled child, Toddle, yeah. So after a while I realised that I had a lot of things that I'd understood about building creative businesses and about my arts practice and becoming a geek and building a business. So now I'm writing this book, and I'm writing it on my blog. And hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll publish this next year. And the thing is, all of you guys have helped me to write this book, because all your stories and experiences and everything else get distilled down, and it's real people doing real stuff, and this is what's going to happen. And again, it's instead of all this stuff being in my head, I'm going to have an opportunity to help share and build and learn and teach and get better by helping other people. So I spoke earlier on about understanding the environment, where we're at right now, and that if something changes in the universe, it's funny, it's like a ripple effect or a huge big earthquake. So the earthquake starts to rumble just a little bit, and then after a while the whole earth opens up, and then crazy stuff happens, and then all of a sudden we have to put everything back to rights again. But it's never the same again, is it? So these guys are based in San Francisco, and their company is called Dodo Case. And I don't know if many people know this, but San Francisco used to be the headquarters for bookbinding in the United States. And you kind of think, San Francisco, technology, bookbinding, that doesn't make any sense. Of course it doesn't, because the industry was dying so fast, there was hardly anybody left in San Francisco who knew how to bind a book. Until one day, the iPad came along. And some very smart guys at Dodo Case realised that if people were going to spend $600 to $800 on a piece of tech, they were certainly going to spend a nice bit of money to put something around it to keep it safe. And Dodo Case was born. So when the first iPad shipped a few years back, what they did was walked around at the lines of people waiting for their new iPad and asked them, "Hey, would you like to use this cover, or would you like a cover like this, or would you like a cover like this?" And they took the bookbinding experience and the beautiful paper and leather and everything else, and they made these most beautiful covers. And then, smart of them, they sent a few covers to some celebrities and got a few celebrity endorsements, and what do you know? A huge company was reborn out of something that was nearly lost. And now they go on and they can make you all sorts of stuff that's programmed and designed just for you. So every time a new iPad comes out, or an iPhone or whatever else, they're right there and they're ready. And you can donate to their cause to help them train new bookbinders and the whole thing. So these guys were so smart, they understood that this iPod or iPad was a premium service. So in return, they offered a premium service to protect it. Again, bringing all the beauty of this handcraft to something technological. And they understood that this could be a really good marriage, and it was. So when I see examples like Dodo Case, coming from a creative background, marrying technology, solving the problem, I realise that anything is possible. you need to understand the environment. So basically you pay quite a lot of money for these things, and so you should, because they're absolutely beautiful. So this is what we talked about earlier on. Remember you were saying about finding the right customers. These people found the right customers. These were the customers who'd gone out and, if you like, pre-selected themselves because they'd bought an iPad or an iPhone. So before the break, at the first session, I spoke about this company. They're called Be Active, and they are based in Dublin and Portugal. They have a team of 10 people, and they have a really innovative way of testing out their products and testing out their ideas. So they are a film company, I guess, TV film company. And they were one of the very first companies to realise that on the web, why couldn't you have a TV series on the web? So they tested it out, and this character here, called Sophia, became the central character of one of the very first web TV series, if you like. And they made this movie and they put it on the web, and they put up more every week, and then all of a sudden it became a show in Portugal, and then the girl's name changed when they moved to Ireland, and they call it Aisling's Diary, and all of a sudden this has popped up in just about every country worldwide. And then after that they got a licensing deal with different broadcasting agencies and everything else. But the key thing is they protected their IP. They held on to it. So whatever licensing deals they do, they are extremely smart in holding on to their IP, their property, and exploiting it so very well, and really smart too. So this was a project that they did recently called Beat Girl. And the interesting thing about Beat Girl was Be Active again, they were the first people to actually try out a concept on Pinterest. How many people here have used Pinterest? Right? Nobody else had done this idea before. So what they did was they came up with this character called Heather. She's from London. She's a musician, so it fits in nicely with many people here. And she has I guess her life changes in some way, and they follow her story. So they put up a ton of images about Heather on Pinterest and her music and where she lived, and they seeded this concept of the story on Pinterest. And then they waited to see if the community would follow, and it did. And when they realised that their target market was on Pinterest, they added more and more content. And from there they put content on Facebook, and from there they put content on YouTube, and they kept going. So 8 months after the first album went up on Pinterest, they had created, in order, if I can remember, a web series, a book, a fan fiction book, a live action film, CDs, playlists on Spotify and YouTube, and God knows what else, in 8 months. And after 8 months, this movie was sold to the States. And now they have a spin-off coming off this with another character. And why am I telling you this? I am telling you this because the IP that they had, this idea for this Beat Girl person, they actually tested that content everywhere. Once they put that trailer up, they tested to see what the fans said. And the fans thought that the first trailer was a bit too edgy. They thought the male character was a bit too edgy, so they recast that character and put somebody else in. And they used the fans' feedback to try and make this better. And when they shot the movie, there was an Irish guy was the director, a young filmmaker. They made a web series and lots of other things at the same time. So instead of the writer and writing just for the movie, the writer wrote for webisodes. Do you know what I mean? They kept all that content together, and they did everything at the same time. So it saved a load of money. And I think the way that Be Active go about testing and putting out their content is really interesting. I think it saves money. I think it's incredibly smart. They build a community wherever they go. Those fans become rabid fans. Those fans tell other people, and those fans even go as far as writing a non-fiction book about the universe that they've created. And I think that is a pretty smart strategy. So I think maybe you guys could do something like that too. And I suppose it's really good to understand the opportunities that the web brings us. So here is a ceramic artist, and she comes from the States, and this website here looks pretty nice, doesn't it? So this is just a movable GIF, I guess. So you put up 3 or 4 images and the code tells it to move. So it just moves your images along. So it looks like the website is alive. And of course she's got nice products, so that makes it look better. And you click in here and you can buy the egg cup or whatever it is straight away. The thing is, this website she put it on is a website called Shopify. And Dodo Case, the guys I showed you earlier on, that's the platform they use to sell as well. So she didn't make a website at all. She just goes into Shopify, gives them some money, and they give her the whole thing. A website, and a shopping cart system, the whole thing. So she didn't go and focus on the stuff she wasn't good at. She's just focusing on making great art. And telling people about it, and she's let Shopify take care of the rest. And I think that is a pretty smart business decision to make, because so many people I work with, they say, well, I'm going to build a game. In fact, I'm going to build a series of 6 games, and then I'm going to build the platform that this game lives on. And I could stand back and say, oh wow, when are you going to get time to eat, and when are you going to get time to sleep? Surely one of those jobs is enough to do. I mean, you're going to build a platform and a game, and then you're going to build 5 others. Wow, can you not use another platform maybe? And I don't know, that's too difficult for me. So sometimes it's smarter to go and use something that's already out there, that's proven, and put your stuff up on it and focus on that, than trying to reinvent every part of the wheel. And I think they're really smart. And Dodo Case, even with the massive growth that they have experienced, they still use Shopify, which I think is pretty amazing. I don't think anybody here, a photographer, have an interest in photography. No? Okay. Similar? Okay. I'm going to show you this case study in terms of how to, if you like, own your content. This guy here is called Cameron, and he's a really great photographer. And last year I was writing a blog post and I needed an image, so I went on Flickr and I found this really great image by this guy, and I put it on my post and I emailed him to say thank you, because I was interested to see more of his work. And he told me, funny enough, that image was taken at a gig in Dublin of my favourite band. Who knew? It's like, okay. So what he does, every time somebody uses his photographs, he gets the link back and he puts it here on Flickr. So this is like his gallery of every single time somebody publishes his work. So if you look closely enough, my blog post is in there somewhere. And I think that's a really smart idea, because he is basically telling me, look at all these other cool people who've used my images to make their work better. So if you look on his page here, you can see every language, every type of content, every type of industry has used his pictures to help communicate their message. And how smart is that? So if I'm trying to find somebody who can communicate to a wide audience, then this is definitely a guy who can help. And I hope one day to work with him on another project, because I think his work is absolutely amazing. So instead of him saying, okay, people have taken my work and I'm not happy about it, he's actually saying, hey, please take my work, please give me a link, and then I can tell the world that 3 million people have used my work. And that's a very good model for you to use. And then obviously he has got images that he doesn't want people to use, that he'll sell, that are specifically for selling. Or in my case, if I went to him and I wanted a particular image of a particular gig at a particular day, obviously I'll pay for that. So it's a really nice balance what he has going right there. So you can license things, of course you can. And that looks like a very scary Lego figure. So licensing is around a long time. So what can you license? You can license all type of content, and you can license your IP, and you can help people put your things in another way, which is really good. And I didn't know until recently that Lego have a whole licensing department where people send them letters and emails and all sorts of stuff every day, hoping that they'll license their thing. And YouTube is a really important platform to use in terms of audience. And we spoke about this guy earlier on before break, about building that community and finding that community on YouTube, and then, you know, building a business model around the finding and the minding and the keeping of your customers that have come to you through platforms like YouTube. And a company that has done that really, really well, is anyone here a gamer who likes to play games a lot? Okay, do you know Machinima? Do you know these guys? Okay, so Machinima basically are a group of investors who bought over this site, and a lot of gamers would make like mini movies with their gameplay. They would record themselves playing a game, or else they would make something new with those game features or edit it in some way, and then they'd share it on the internet, on YouTube. And Machinima was born out of this fan creation of things. And now they've made a platform and they use exclusively YouTube as their platform. So people come in, look at the amount of videos that have been viewed. They invite people to become members of this Machinima community. You can only become a member of this community if you have X amount of followers. If you already have a lot of people that you can bring to the table. And then look at the amount of partners they have worldwide. And it is a huge, huge, huge platform for gamers. And now what happens is that a lot of new games like this one and films will make trailers specifically for Machinima. So the very first look of a new trailer or a new game or a new movie will come out here first. And that's massive. So the business model that these guys have built around gamers and what they do, they don't make the stuff. They just give the gamers a place to put their content. And then Machinima help those people push it out over and over and over again. And everything here is money making. Everything you click on makes money.
For who?
Machinima. Yeah. And then they obviously have deals with their partners and also with the people who creates the content. So every time you click on something, they make money. And again, Etsy. I mean, Etsy has been such a huge runaway success. It's hard to imagine that there was no platform, if you like, to sell content online, particularly this kind of very valuable, high quality craft work. And to do it in such a really smart way. These guys in Etsy have made a lot of money. So the business model here is, I'm an artist and I want to put up some of my my needlework. I pay a little bit of money to put up my my work, and then when somebody buys this work, Etsy gets some money. So it's done on a percentage basis. So every time you pay to list something, they get some money. And you can only imagine how many items are listed on this website in a day. So the funding that these guys have got is pretty incredible. Most recently, they got a huge tranche of funding from some of the biggest VCs in Silicon Valley, and that's not to be sniffed at. So here's an artist who started her own company. It's called 20 by 200. And basically the idea is that you can get really good art for $20 or less. So artists could put up their prints or whatever else, and then you can go in there and you can buy it. And she added another $1 million to her bottom line recently by adding a feature to this where they will frame it for you and send it to you. So it is possible to make money from this. And the woman who started this was an artist herself. So to get the word out then, it's important, as we talked about earlier, to get the word out using social media and to bring people back to your site, to your website. And the critical question is, what do you want them to do next? So if I sign up to your site, what do you want me to do next? If I click on something, do you want me to buy a ticket? If I read something that you posted on Facebook, do you want me to share it with other people? I need to know what to do next. If you don't tell me, I'm not going to do it. And there's really nice ways of telling people what to do or asking people what to do without being overly horrible or nasty or mean or bragging or whatever else. It's how do you have that conversation? And interestingly, this is Pinterest, by the way. A share on Pinterest, I said earlier, from research last week is worth 78 cents. And a post on Pinterest will stay on Pinterest, if you like, longer. A post on Facebook sticks around about maybe 10 to 15 minutes before it moves down. So you need to understand the dynamics of how these things work in terms of when you might post it again. And if a lot of people you work with are based in the United States, make sure you put some posts up when they're awake and you're asleep. And we're going back to the value of this again. It's valuable because this is part of your business model. Marketing is part of your business model. You need to get your first 500 people in. Then you need to get the next 1,000 in. Then you need to get the next 10,000 people in. And you need to work to those goals. And you need to figure out what was the things that made those first 500 people want to be there. And will that change when you've hit 10,000 or 50,000 users? So can you imagine going from nothing to something? That's huge. And what I say to people who work in the arts is that we're not starting from first principles here. We're really lucky. We don't have to educate that people as much as we think we do. People understand culture. People understand what a song is. People know what a painting is. People know what a piece of sculpture is. People know what opera is. We know because we've grown up with them since we were tiny. So we don't have to start educating people from the very first go. We don't have to tell them that they need an iPhone. We are not first to market here. Anyone who brings out something that is so completely new has a huge problem because they need to pay so much money to educate me and you. And that's why usually the second person to the table with the new business is better, because they've just jumped off all the hard work you did. So thankfully in arts and culture, we're not starting from the beginning. We should actually be building on what we have and bringing those communities of people together. And if anything, over the last couple of years, what we know is that more and more people are going to live events and gigs and community things, and they're all being enthused and brought together first, maybe online. So if you understand how that works, there's no reason why you can't have a business model that includes stuff that happens in the real world too, and then stuff that happens online and stuff that happens in the real world. Why not? And then of course, part of your business model should be advertising. There's nothing wrong with local or regional advertising, because the thing is, people read the local paper. And maybe you can get a story broken on a local paper that somebody on a national paper might want to see or read. Because what we forget is all of these people, radio, TV, magazines, everything else, they're all looking for content. And they don't have time. They don't have time at all. And they're not able to keep up with the demand. So if you write a nice email and you pitch them really nicely and you give these journalists, for example, a nice photograph and something that they can use straight away, pretty much what you'll notice is they'll change the written by to their name and everything else will be exactly the same. Because they're busy, really busy. And if you're polite and nice to interview, chances are they'll interview you again. And the other thing a lot of us haven't thought about enough are all those internet radio shows that we have and listen to, and podcasts that people do. Because the thing is, we can listen to them time and again, and people will put on a podcast when they're driving their car or in the evening time. So it's not a one-hit wonder here. You do it once and you can use this content over and over again. The other thing that I think is really important when it comes to your business model, the key thing is a lesson that I learned with a friend and colleague of mine that I worked with. This is what he said: we thought we were facilitating workshops. After looking at our core business, we realised we developed a unique teaching method for preserving endangered languages. Like, if he thought his business model was facilitating workshops, okay, but actually, look what they developed. Look at the opportunity, now look at the real opportunity. He actually hadn't understood the value of what they had created. So in terms of what I was going to do with him to help him grow his business, if we just looked at this, we had lost a huge amount. I mean, with something like this, he could develop a course with the university, he could do stuff online. I mean, where the possibilities are endless. But this job here, that's a one-hit wonder. Or at least that's the way that they were working it, which was really sad. So figure out what your true value is. And the thing is, if you can build a community around you that care about your story, and who will give you some money, and who will come back and give you some money again, like a recurring revenue stream, that's really important. And sometimes the people who give you money in the beginning can help you bring more people in to give you even more money, and that's really good. And finally, then you have investment. You can talk to friends and family maybe who might give you some money. You can find some funds that will give you early business investment, you know, like a few €1,000s or something like that, seed money. You can talk to some angel investors that give out maybe a little bit more money, all the way up to venture capital. And that's generally speaking the pathway that people go on. And if you are seeking investment, you need to figure out why the investor is interested in you. You need to figure out the kind of relationship that you're going to have with that person. Because at the end of the day, the investor maybe might not care all that much about music or Etsy or making art. Maybe all the investor cares about is getting his money back, multiplied by 4 or 5 or 6. Or maybe all she cares about is having something really good to show her boss at the end of the year. Because this is what it's about, it's a business deal. So if you're seeking investment, make sure you understand the dynamic that's between you, the person who makes the product and the business, and also the investor and what they need out of it, because those needs are quite different. And sometimes you can be really lucky and get an investor in who's done something like what you've done before, and they can give you help and support and mentorship. They can open a door and introduce you to somebody who will save you a load of time. That is unbelievably valuable too. Don't underestimate the power of that. But most of the time, in my experience, the investor just wants to let you get on with your job, because really they invest in you, the person, with the ability to get things done. So here's a canvas that I'll send to everybody to try and use to figure out what your business model is. So we talked earlier on about a problem. Do you have a problem? Is there a problem in the world that you're going to solve? Like, I want to try and save all my photographs somewhere, and they're not going to disappear. So the solution to that is to build something like Dropbox maybe. Why am I different? What's unique about me? Well, maybe I have some insider information, or maybe I've built this piece of technology that's really easy to use. What's unique about me? Again, that unfair advantage could be insider information. Sometimes it is. Maybe it could be you've got an amazing team of people around you who can get it done faster. And then this is your market. Who is going to buy this product off you? How are you going to talk to them? How do you know it's a success? What are the goals that you're going to check off to say, yep, I'm getting there? How much will it cost you? And how are you going to make money? Okay, so this is called the business model canvas. So I would say print that off 1,000,000 times and write it up and focus on different markets and different people, and keep distilling that down, and then go out and test it. Talk to people and test it. Test every single last one of these over and over and over again. Because I promise you, if you do that, you're going to have way more money in your back pocket, you're going to waste less, and hopefully have less grey hair at the end of the day. So again, it's your pricing, it's the size of the opportunity, the market type, all the rest of it. I'll send you guys this. And sometimes maybe you should steal like a pirate. Maybe you should go out and see what your competitors do. Have a look and see what worked for them, because I can promise you that Amazon and Facebook and Dropbox, they made all the same kind of mistakes, but they figured out which ones worked. So maybe you can actually use some of their strategies too. Why not? Watch them, learn, make it better, and in fact do it better than they do. Why not? So I suppose that's it then. It's over to you guys now. So I think what I'd like you to talk about in this session is content. That came up very much the last time. What type of content could you share, and who are you going to share it with? Okay, so we'll do that maybe for the next 15 minutes, okay? And then we'll do one other exercise then at this session, okay?